from Colorado's high-definition news leader. This is 9 News at noon.
Crime scene specialists, detectives, and more. They've been outside this large Douglas County home for hours. Inside, a grim crime scene is under investigation. Hello, everybody. I'm Kyle Dyer. Douglas County 911 first got an emergency call around 3 this morning. Investigators found 2 people dead inside that home on Marlin Way, which is in the Keene Ranch subdivision of Douglas County. That's where 9 News reporter Brooke Thacker is for us this afternoon. Brooke, investigators have been there for what, 9 hours?
9 hours now, Kyle. Good afternoon. Now, there are more than a dozen cars that are outside this home. Let me step out of the way so you can see. More than a dozen cars that belong to police, to investigators, the coroner's office. So it really makes you want to know what is going on inside there. But police are not releasing much information. They will not tell us the identity of these 2 people, if they are male or female, or how they died. The Douglas County Sheriff's Office said they do not have a suspect in this case. Well, rather, they would not say if they had a suspect in this case, but they were clear to say they have no one in custody. Now, they have told neighbors that they feel it's an isolated incident, but there's a lot of speculation amongst neighbors here. Neighbors here say that this is a tight-knit community. The homes are spread out on 5-acre plots, but neighbors do talk. Now, as I said, we've been talking to police all morning. They have been trying to keep us updated as best they could. However, they were very clear to say this is an ongoing investigation.
It's an ongoing investigation. We don't have anybody in custody. We don't have any suspects, but that's not to say that we're not following through with leads. What I would say is at this time, we're exhausting every possible lead that we can receive.
It made me nervous when I left this morning, wondering what was going on. Am I safe in my own home here? I always have felt really safe. And so if it's a domestic issue, it is a terrible tragedy. I just can't imagine.
Now, Kyle, we asked the Sheriff's Department, is this if this is a domestic situation? They really would not give much information as far as what led up to this incident. They are hoping to give us an update sometime this afternoon, but they really could not say. Now, one thing they did tell us is the coroner's office will be the ones who will give us the identities of these victims, who all was involved. We've talked to the coroner's office, but they have said they weren't even allowed inside the house yet. They are also asking for any tips, any advice from the public that you can send to the Douglas County Sheriff's Office, and they would appreciate that.
Okay, Brooke, thank you very, very much. Still a lot of questions. Thank you.
Yes.
In Brighton, it is the first day of testimony in the first-degree murder trial of William Rex Fowler. He is the founder of a local software company, accused of the shooting death of a former business partner following a dispute over money. 9 News reporter Chris Vanderveen is live for us at the Adams County Courthouse today. And Chris, this trial is attracting a bit more attention than most because of Fowler's connection to the Church of Scientology.
That's the case right now, Kyle, but the prosecutors and police have been saying for a number of months that really the Church of Scientology and disagreements over the Church of Scientology really led to the disagreements that existed between Thomas Chancho and his boss Rex Fowler. But last week, the judge in this case, right before they were getting ready to go to trial, said he did not want jurors to hear much of anything about the Church of Scientology because he said it really didn't get to the heart of the prosecution's case. So this morning, prosecutors spoke in generic terms when talking about the church, referring it to as, quote, an organization that supported the defendant's beliefs. They did not name it by name. Thomas Chancho was the one-time chief operating officer of Fowler Software Design, but had become convinced, say prosecutors, the company was failing in part because of an earlier decision by Rex Fowler to donate $175,000 of the company's own money to the Church of Scientology. Chancho showed up at the company on December 30th, 2009, thinking he was going to be getting a nearly $10,000 settlement check. He'd resigned a month earlier. But prosecutors say Fowler shot Chancho 3 times in the head that day before turning his gun on himself. There was some question at first over who the real victim was because Fowler came staggering out of the office with a gunshot wound when police arrived. He survived. Really, at the heart of this case is not a question of whether Rex Fowler shot Thomas Chancho. Even the defense said, yes, that indeed happened. But the central part of this case is there intent? The defense, during their part of opening statements today, said, in essence, that Rex Fowler had intended to kill himself that morning, but was interrupted when Thomas Chancho came into his office. If you get rid of intent, if you get rid of deliberation, then the defense hopes you might be able to get rid of first-degree murder, as he has been charged. We'll see if that will be the case. The case itself is expected to last into next week. Kyle?
Okay, all right, Chris Vanderveen, thank you. In Libya, it is becoming clearer by the hour that Muammar Gaddafi is losing control. NBC's Richard Engel found out firsthand by taking a drive.
As soon as we entered Libya, it was clear Colonel Muammar Gaddafi is no longer in control of much of the country. Our car was immediately surrounded by protesters. They were armed and desperate to speak. The protesters, more like rebels, have set up checkpoints on nearly every corner. We were driven by the protesters for more than 100 miles through eastern Libya. We didn't see a single Gaddafi loyalist. Instead, we saw military barracks, empty and burned. As we entered the city of Tobruk, a protest was underway. The demonstrators shouted, "Libya must be free." At Tobruk's main army headquarters, we found soldiers and officers still armed and in uniform who are now in open rebellion. They broke into cheers, the people and the army, hand in hand. There are reports of military defections like this nationwide.
We are behind of people, civil people.
This is not an Egyptian-style protest movement. This is a war for Libya. But Gaddafi vows to fight to the end. There's heavy fighting in the capital, Tripoli, where in a national address, Gaddafi said he would die a martyr. The Libyan leader called on his supporters to attack and kill demonstrators.
International efforts are underway to evacuate foreigners from Libya. The U.S. State Department says Americans starting today will be taken out of Libya by ferry to Malta. Richard Engel, NBC News, Tobruk, Libya.
Thanks, Richard. At the Tripoli airport, chaos as crowds of foreigners try to leave. Over a dozen countries have sent in planes to help their citizens escape what could be civil war within days. One person trying to get out, a woman from Ohio. She says an unbelievable number of people are trying to get out on flights and that the airport is overflowing with stranded passengers. The numbers of casualties from the unrest are hard to come by, but one Human Rights Watch group says it could be upwards of 1,000. There's also a report today that 2 Libyan Air Force pilots bailed out of their fighter jets, allowing them to crash in the desert rather than carry out orders to bomb protesters. The unrest continues to affect Wall Street, especially regarding what it could mean for oil exports. Investors are reacting to word that the price of oil passed $100 a barrel today. That's the first time it's done so in more than 2 years. A nighttime curfew is now in place in Christchurch, New Zealand. Much of the city is in ruins following Monday night's 6.3 earthquake. 75 people are confirmed dead. That number, though, is expected to go up. About 300 residents of the city are missing, and the search for those people continues despite being hampered by aftershocks. The race also continues to restore power, water, and phone lines that are down. Pope Benedict XVI is calling on the world to pray for the people of Christchurch. The Pope spoke before a large crowd at the Vatican today. He urged the people to pray for all those who have lost their lives. And Pope Benedict is also asking for prayers for the rescuers to help them stay strong during their tireless search for survivors.
You're watching 9 News at Noon, Colorado's high-definition news leader, with Gary Shapiro, Kyle Dyer, and meteorologist Becky Ditchfield on the 9 News Network's Colorado's Information Center.